Hey, ladies, welcome back. Welcome back to Miss Parker to You. Welcome to another episode of Married and Single. We're diving into a topic that may stir up some emotions you've kept buried. We're talking about jealousy, the kind that comes from a spouse and how it impacts every part of your life, your career, your social freedom, your role as a mother, and yes, even your intimacy. I know this conversation might bring up feelings you pushed aside or maybe tried to ignore, but I want you to lean into it. It's okay if this feels heavy. It's okay if it feels raw. But I'm here with you and we're going to unpack this together layer by layer because you deserve to have peace, growth, and your voice to be heard as well too. So let's get started and we're going to start with the quiet loneliness of jealousy, okay? Let's begin with what women don't say out loud. The most painful kind of loneliness is the one that happens inside a marriage. You could literally be lying next to someone every night, sharing the bills, raising the kids together, and still feel emotionally abandoned. It doesn't always start with something crazy big. Sometimes it's the way your voice gets smaller over time, the way you pause before you share any good news, the way you start to second guess whether he'll be happy for you or threatened. Jealousy from a spouse doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it arrives as indifference or silence or little signs that tell you you're too much, you're shining too brightly, you're dreaming too big. And so you shrink yourself, you censor yourself, not because you want to, but because it feels way safer to do so. But girl, that's not what love is. That's literal control. And your spirit knows the difference, even if your mind is still making excuses. Our minds will play tricks on us. Our minds will literally play tricks on us, have us making up stories in our heads to justify the ignorance of other people, especially our spouses. So let's talk about career and ambition when your growth feels dangerous. Like there are women out here who do not actually grow as much as they could in their career because their spouse is crazy and they know it, or subconsciously they know it, and they just rather stay in the little secretary position. They rather stay in the consultant position. But God forbid you start a business, God forbid you become a manager, or somebody says anything positive about your work ethic and tries to build you up. God forbid, because when you have a jealous spouse, it's a different type of dynamic in that relationship. There's something powerful about a woman who starts to come into herself, especially when she's focused on her work, her calling, and her goals. But that same power can be a battleground when you're married to a man who doesn't know how to honor it. There are men who, I'm telling you, I really feel like this goes deeper, and we're not going to get that deep in this today, but it goes deeper with, when it comes to men, because man is a complex creature. They really are. Like, they're unstable creatures when they feel threatened financially, emotionally, you know, any type of way, in strength or whatever, and intellectually. They're unstable creatures. Okay. Um, You're not just working for a paycheck. You're really over here trying to build a vision that you have, and you're trying to reclaim your time and your identity and your brilliance. But every time you make a little progress, he makes a comment. He downplays your success. He questions your motives. And worst of all, acts like you're neglecting the marriage just because you started prioritizing your purpose. See, that's the mind games, you know? the manipulation that comes in. And this also goes back to, like, it kind of ties in with the trad wife. While you have women who are so, they won't try anything else but motherhood and marriage. They're not going to try to start a business. Hell, they won't even bake a damn piece of bread and try to sell it on the side of the road because of the type of person they marry. That's why the variable to soft life with women, the variable is the man they marry. He doesn't have to be rich, but godly, the money helps. But if he's a piece of shit and he's rich, it's still a fucked up marriage, you know? And it's unfortunate. It really is unfortunate that some women are scared to death to step out of the role of motherhood and wife and being a wife. They're scared to death. They're not going to do anything that they feel is going to threaten their husband's, like, or not really, that they feel is going to threaten their husband or trigger him in any type of way, because they know what type of man they married. And if they didn't know what type of man they married, it's because they didn't date long enough. If you ask me, they didn't ask enough questions. But that isn't what love really is about. That's not love. When a man does that and tries to make you feel like you're neglecting your marriage because you are trying to build something and leave a legacy behind, that's more so about power. That's a power dynamic. He is looking at your earning potential. He's looking at things that you can be contributing to financially, things you could do by yourself, as a power struggle at that point. Because when we go back to Proverbs 31 woman, and they talk about in that chapter about her earning her own money, having her own business, that showcases independence from man. Yes, she's married, but she still has her own income, her own everything. She could do it herself. So if you're in a relationship with a man that's jealous, inherently jealous, he's okay when you have to call his ass for stuff. He's okay when you have to wait on him, or he's okay when nobody's really praising you for anything of substance. He's okay with that, because the power dynamic is he's more powerful than you. He's financially powerful. He's socially powerful. He's got all the power. You're literally at this point just his wife. You're just the chick that had his kids, okay? So you got to ask yourself, is he celebrating your wins or competing with them? I can't stand a man that competes with his wife or his girlfriend. Every time you look around, they're trying to compete. And if he is the type of person who doesn't mind you having a business or a job, he'll try to out earn you. Every day is about, can you afford it? I can afford it. Oh, I caught this. Can you do it? Like, it's weird. It's weird because you would think in a marriage your money is the same, and you both have some of this. You may have different careers and dreams and aspirations, but your goal is the same: financial stability, living legacy, and money behind for your family. But he's over here trying to compete with you on who's earning more, who's socially more powerful, and all this weird stuff. Okay, most of all, is he clapping for you? This is another thing you need to ask: is he clapping for you or trying to clip your wings? There are husbands out here that will literally sabotage you behind your back. Every time you make 2 step forwards, he'll mess around and have you going 6 steps back. And this could look like in a multitude of ways. So you get a job, right? You're trying to get a job to get some income in, not just for yourself, but just so you can contribute to the household income. Boom, all of a sudden your schedule doesn't work because he's changing up his hours at work. Or all of a sudden daycare is too expensive, you need to stay home with the kids. He'll always find something. You'll always find something to make it to where you progressing in your business or in your career, he's going to make it hard. Or he will attack you emotionally. He'll try to attack you as a mother. He'll try to attack you as a wife, as a woman. He will find little jabs to stick you with, okay? You should not have to choose between building a future and preserving someone's fragile ego. Okay? If your growth threatens him, the issue is never you, it's his refusal to grow alongside you. There are men who want to surpass their spouses. And I don't know if it's something that happened in his childhood, what he saw growing up, whether that means his mother was a breadwinner and his father was at home miserable or was getting made fun of by the guys and he vowed he would never be that way, or his father was an egotistical bullshit ass man and he glamorized being the breadwinner and showed what that power looks like. And in front of y'all, he dressed it up and made sure your mother always seems taken care of, da 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 da. But she never showed the emotional impact it has that happens behind closed doors when they go to sleep, you know? So, speaking of social power, let's talk about the social life and the independent, the cage with invisible bars. Every woman needs her people, her community, her moments of laughter, ease, and freedom. But what happens when your husband starts resenting your independence? I'll tell you what happens. What happens when every girl's night becomes an emotional landmine? It's subtle at first. He's quiet when you come home, withdrawn, a bit cold, or maybe he asks questions that aren't really questions. They're like traps. You know, who was there? Okay, like you tell him who was there. Why were you gone so long? Did you ever miss me anymore? Like act like you going out to an event, whether it's a social event, a business event, hell, by yourself up to the grocery store, is always, oh, where were you? Why were you gone so long? Do you even miss me anymore? Trying to guilt you and try to like just do, it's weird. It's a mind game, I'm telling you. That's not really a partnership. That's possessiveness in disguise. He's trying to possess you. He's trying to control where you go. He's trying to control your mind and your thought process by asking you questions that literally have nothing to do with anything. It's weird. They're like little thing, like nitpicking, you know? You are allowed to have a life. You are allowed to be a whole person outside of being a wife. Just know that. And a mom if you have kids. You're not disrespectful by honoring your own humanity. Because, like I said, some women get so caught up in being wife and mom, they forget who they are. My man, my man, my man. And then, and like disregard everybody else when they get with their man. And now their man is literally keeping them from doing anything in life or guilting them. And it's weird, you know? And any love that can't handle your freedom was never really love to begin with. It was literally ownership. It was ownership. He can't handle you being independent. He can't handle you making any type of money. He can't handle the fact that you are socially acceptable. People like being around you. He can't handle any of that crap. So God forbid you walk out the door to the grocery store. Of course, he's trying to figure out why are you going to the grocery store and who was there and why were you gone for so long and stuff. Because some men are crazy. They may think you're literally leaving your house to go do regular, degular stuff and you're meeting up with men. They think that. There's some men who think that you dress a little too pretty, you put on a little bit too much lip gloss, and their whole world falls apart. Okay. So also when we're going to jump into parenting now, when your motherhood becomes a threat, this is something that y'all got to pay attention to. When your motherhood becomes a threat, then we have issue, we got some serious problems. This one is going to be tender. When you become a mother, something deep opens up in you. You start to pour from a new place. And sometimes that triggers jealousy in a man who already feels insecure in the relationship. So, I mean, my thing is this, there's no reason why would a man even bother to get with a woman that he feels insecure with? The way he was feeling, he feels now in the marriage is how he felt prior. But I guess he thought when y'all got married and proximity, you guys are together like all the time, that may go away. But he was probably jealous of you. It might not have been as strong before, but he was already jealous of you, okay? Maybe he makes jokes about how the kids get all your attention. Maybe he criticizes your parenting, not because he wants to help you, but he wants you to feel relevant. He wants you to feel like you're doing a good job. Like, yeah, you're doing okay. Or he'll say, "Oh, I can't believe you did that," or "You allowed that." Or, like I said, he likes to dig, and he's gonna find things that are personal to you, like your children. Okay, that's what he's gonna do. Okay, um, maybe he's not showing up as a father, but still expect to be the emotional priority. Like, some men have this thing where before kids, in this, maybe he wasn't a jealous person. Maybe he don't care about your money. He doesn't care that you have social influence. He doesn't care about none of that. But what he cares about, when you have kids, and moms, we tend to put more attention and emphasis on what we do every day on our children. We give so much attention to them. Our extra money, our extra emotions, our extra brain power are going into our children. Some men feel neglected, so they start getting like resentful. They start resenting their kids. They start getting jealous of their children. Sometimes they may start getting jealous of their mother, because of the mother of his wife, because the kids want to be with mom so much too. And we're probably going to get into that too. But yeah, it's not fair, and it's not also your fault. You're not wrong for loving your children deeply. You're not failing him by being present for them. If he feels left out, it's his responsibility to step in, not to guilt you for doing the work he's avoiding. So if he feels that he's not getting enough attention, or it just seems like I'm over here and y'all are over there, then that means he needs to start being over here instead of being over there in the corner pouting and bitching and stuff. He needs to come over here, make a real effort. And because 9 times out of 10, it's all in his head. It's all in his head. Most kids, when mom is around all the time, playing, doing all the things, most kids ask about their dad. Where's dad? Where's daddy? Is daddy coming? Like, that's what's going on. Meanwhile, Ding Dong over here thinks that they just want to be around mom, and mom only wants to be around the kids and only shows attention to them, when in reality, the kids and mom is over here like, dang, where's dad at? We wish dad was here. It's really interesting. This is why I say communication matters. Communication really matters. People don't, they harbor things. They don't want to say what needs to be said. They think the stuff instead of saying what it needs to be said out loud. They let things fester. They don't just say it. They would save themselves a whole lot of problems down the road. Yes, it is sometimes hard and sometimes embarrassing to bring up things in your marriage and talk about it, because I've been there too. But you got to talk about it. You need to get that elephant out the room. It needs to go, so that you can move on and start working on other areas of the marriage. Sometimes you can't even get to the meat and potato of the marriage, the issues, because you got let the little tiny things block you. So also, you need to ask yourself, is he co-parenting or just competing? Because you got dads who try to one up mom on everything. Mom takes the kids to the park. Dad's taking the kids to Slitterbond. Mom takes them out for ice cream. Dad takes them out to the most expensive ice cream experience on earth, right? You got people, mom buys Christmas gifts for her kids. Dad buys Christmas gifts, but they're like all the latest cool gadgets and stuff, and act like he's the better parent, the favorite parent. And that's weird too. And eventually, when your kids get bigger and older, they're gonna see this, they're gonna understand more, and dad's gonna look like a total loser at the end of the day in front of their kids. So, like, I mean, it's very weird. A man who truly values family steps up, not lashes out in in these ways that we spoke about. So this one right here is pretty dark, if you ask me, but sexual jealousy, when intimacy becomes a weapon. It's super dark, but we need to talk about it. Sometimes jealousy doesn't just live in words, it shows up in the bedroom. It turns what should be a connection into control. It turns lovemaking into a performance you didn't sign up for. You feel it in the way he touches you, not to cherish you, but more so to claim you, not to build an intimacy with you, but to remind you who's in charge. There's no mutuality, there's no tenderness. It's all ego, it's punishment wrapped in passion. And this is what I consider like being raped in your marriage. Like, meaning, like, you're a married woman, sex does happen. You shouldn't feel bad for having sex. But, like, when your sex life becomes more like a dominatrix experience and rape and like an abusive act towards you, then I mean, you're going to need more than just counseling at that point. And it's crazy because a lot of people don't report rape or any type of sexual abuse that has happened to them when they're married because of what people may think. How are you being sexually abused? How are you being raped when you're married to this man? It gets real tricky very quickly. But even it, like, if especially if there was never any signs of physical abuse in your marriage, or like there's no or physical abuse on you or the children. Abuse doesn't have to be physical, it could literally be mental. It's a mental, emotional abuse. That stuff is real. And sometimes it translates when you're dealing with a man who is jealous or just abusive in nature. He will rape his wife. She doesn't want to have sex. He knows she doesn't want to have sex, but he forces her to have sex. That's rape within your marriage, okay? Anyway, so you know, I know it's crazy, but you feel it in the way he touches you, and there's no mutuality like we talked about. It's literally punishment. So let's name it clearly. Sex that feels vengeful, aggressive, or manipulative is not intimacy. Is actually a violation. It's a violation of you. You are allowed to say no. You're allowed to ask for him to be gentle. You are allowed to feel safe. And if you don't, that's not your shame to carry. And you should definitely rethink the entire relationship. The entire relationship. I would have started rethinking way back at at point number one, okay? But like when you get down into where everybody goes to sleep and it's time to be intimate, and it doesn't feel intimate, you actually feel like a victim. That we've passed the threshold of rethinking. It's time to get the hell out, if you ask me. So what do we do? Because we talked about all these different ways a man could show up jealous, right, in your marriage. So what do we do? This is the part where things can get real. You don't just wake up and leave. Okay, not always, but you do need to stop lying to yourself. You need to name what's happening. You need to get honest. This isn't healthy. This isn't safe. This is not love of any kind on any level. Then you need a plan. Maybe that means therapy. Maybe that means financial independence. Maybe it means having quiet conversations with people you trust. And it better be people you trust. And I'm telling you right now, don't even bother to go to his family, because if you go to his mother, she has a natural instinct to protect her child and to defend. So she's going to bring it up. I don't care how close y'all been, how much y'all kikiing and ha and going to get mimosas and lunch. She's gonna tell him. I would feel the same for his siblings as well too, and dad. Don't even bother. If anything, I would go to my own family if you have that option, or maybe some girlfriends. But then again, you got to be careful when you talk to your girlfriends about your spouse and what he's doing, because you got two types of women out there: one that really cares and really is going to try to help you, and then the one that has been waiting on your ass to fuck up so she could slide in your spot. Like, it gets real messy real quick. Me personally, I would go find me a therapist who legally is bound to not say nothing about what I say, not some, like, what I would consider random folks on the street, family, friends, or whoever. Okay. So maybe that just means you need to start doing some more dreaming, some more self reflection. Start, imagining yourself in a healthier marriage. That's what you probably should start doing. And when you start doing that, you're going to start looking at everything. Everything. You're going to start noticing the things that he's doing every day when it comes to, like I said earlier, when you have something to share that's good news and he doesn't really congratulate you, he's more irritated. When the kids come around and they want to hang out with you, how he reacts to that. Or when you start making money, how he reacts to that. Or if you are making money, good money, and he's trying to compete with you on different ways, and being socially competitive with you as well. You need to start thinking about stuff like that. I was Be secretive though. If you don't have nobody to talk to and you don't have the money to go get a therapist, you probably going to need to start doing some journaling. You need to start getting you a little emergency fund together. You need to start doing things behind the scenes. And if you're a stay-at-home mom, or you're a stay-at-home wife, while he's at work with all his egotistical self, with his entire, like, his thing, you need to be at home making plans. Okay, making plans to get the hell out. That's what you need to be doing. And if you're not being physically abused, and I have to say this with caution, because like I said, emotional abuse and emotional abuse is a thing, and mental abuse is a thing. But if you're not being physically touched, like hit, slap, drag, beat like that, I would say in the physical, you are safe. But you need to make sure that you are guarding your mind and not thinking too deep into all the manipulation that's been going on. You need to develop yourself stronger there so that you can think clearly and properly, okay, for your escape. And if you have kids, you got to think clearly and properly on their behalf as well too, because a jealous husband might not be jealous toward his kids. It may not show any emotional abuse toward them or even any physical abuse toward them. But if he abuses their mother, he's abusing them too. He just doesn't realize it. So you need to just be mindful of those things too. Okay, so, but I would do this all in secret at first. So you need to remember what life could feel like if you were free from all of this. That goes back to that dreaming aspect. What life would be if you lived by yourself with just you and your kids, had the ability to earn money without feeling bad about it, being able to gain compliments or being socially accepted without feeling bad, hanging out with your children and doing things for them without feeling bad. You need to think about what that feels like, okay? The goal here isn't to shame you, it's to wake you up, because there are women every day I watch and I can see, and I look at them and I've talked to them, and they're living this. They're living this entire conversation that we just had. They're living it every day. And instead of facing that and making changes, they find it easier to just throw it to their subconscious, suppress it or whatever, and just get through their day. And that's when you get the frustrated mom, the moms that are, or the women that are always irritable, they're distant, they don't want to, they're just distant, or they're always got this sad, depressed, or angry aura around them. It's because at home they're not happy. That's it. They're just not happy. You know happy women. You know happily married women when you see it, and you know women that are not happily married. And you can sit here and act like you don't, but we all know the difference based off of their conversation, what they're posting on social media. And you're going to say, well, people post that they're, doing this and that and traveling, all that all the time. Right. Everything is unnaturally perfect on social media. Okay. People need to take a look at that. What do you mean? Every time you post, y'all are kissing and everything is just glamorous. Okay, but and there's never anything authentic around. There's nothing. Everything is beautiful. Every aspect of their day in life is beautiful on social media. I don't look at social media and at influencers and at people who post stuff like that and be like, oh man, I wish I had that, because they could be going through hell and high water at home. Okay. I want you to live a life where you're celebrated and not tolerated. Stop being tolerated. You don't have to be tolerated. There are way, first off, if you're a woman and your husband's acting is just tolerating you, there are men who will break their backs right now, break their backs, empty out their bank accounts to be with you. Okay. Oh, but I have kids. Okay. They trying to get with you married and with kids now. So just imagine what life would be like. Don't sit up there and act like the dating pool has closed. Because I used to think that. I used to think the dating pool would have closed, like closes when you've already been married, you've already had children. No, actually, I've come to find out that there are men who are over here like who can't have kids. Okay, they're biologically, they just can't have their own kids. So they're looking for a woman who got them already. Okay, they're looking for a woman who's out here trying her best to be the best mom she can, the best woman she can, and hope to God she leaves the crazy nut she's with so they can scoop in and be Prince Charming and just wine, dine, and take care of her. Because there are men out here that literally just want to take care of you and make sure you're happy every day. So don't let him, because there are men who women who are like strong minded and like they understand what's being done to them, say tell their husbands, I'm leaving you, I'm getting rid. The man will say, who's gonna want a woman like you? You've been married, you've been ran through, you had already kids, you're stretched out, you got stretch marks, you're fat, you're not in shape. Like literally trying to throw all these labels on you and try to make you feel like you're not worthy to be, nobody else is going to want you. Meanwhile, Dan across the street is just waiting on the day when your ass decides to wake up so he can pull up, you know? I'm just saying, don't fall for the okey doke, okay? Don't fall for the okey doke. Where you allowed where you are allowed to expand without punishment, that's where you need to be. Where you're allowed to expand without punishment, that's where you need to be. Okay, where you can laugh and be yourself, that's where you need to be. And if you do, maybe the marriage is what's dying, not you. Because if you're at home and every day feels like a battleground, every day you walk through the door and you're like, I really would rather be at work, or I really should have just sat in the car for a little bit longer, or you find yourself feeling better when you and your kids are outside of the house when your husband's home. I mean, that's like somebody slapping you with a red flag that something's off, okay? So, I mean, I'm not saying just burn out, but I would start paying more attention. I would start planning life without him more intentionally, I will start I would start building a community around myself. I would start trying to make sure I'm financially secure, and you don't have to you don't really have to mention any of this to anybody. You can literally walk through your day as if nothing is bothering you while you plan your grand escape, I guess that's what you could call it. So I'm just saying, you were never meant to carry this alone. You're not crazy, no matter what he says or other people may say. You're not overreacting for how you respond to this stuff, and you don't have to settle for it either. You don't. You deserve a love that's wide enough to hold all of you, not just the quiet version, not just the supportive wife version, but the powerful, vibrant, growing woman you were born to be version. So, thank you guys for spending this time with me. Thank you for being honest with yourself while listening. And I know this conversation wasn't really easy, but it was necessary. And if it stirs something in you, that's okay. That means you're alive, actually. That means you're aware. That means something deep inside you is still reaching for some sort of freedom, still reaching for some wholeness, still reaching for you. Your soul, your spirit, your consciousness is trying to find you inside of all of this, okay? I want you to know that you're not alone in this. If you felt seen today, if you need a space to unpack what you're going through, or you just want to sit in a room with women who get it, I want to personally invite you to join your third home. It's more than a group, it's more like a sanctuary, a place where you could talk freely, ask for guidance, give wisdom, cry if you need to, and most importantly, feel safe doing so. Because healing takes community, clarity takes conversation, and sometimes the most powerful breakthroughs happen when another woman simply says, "Me too." So come on in, pull up a chair. You don't have to figure this out by yourself. And I'll see you in your third home. And until next time, be gentle with yourself. You're doing the work, and that's everything. It really is. That's everything.